Feel the high-voltage energy of a story that refused to be silenced by the passing of time. We bring you the electric reality of life's most intense confrontations, wrapped in a cinematic glow that never fades. Hit that subscribe button now and power up your imagination with us.
The morning I found the wire transfer confirmation in my sister's email, the one she accidentally forwarded to me instead of her husband, was the same morning. I realized I had been financing my own betrayal for 3 years. I'm a 29-year-old paralegal. I work 50-hour weeks, pack my lunch, drive a 6-year-old Honda, and I have exactly one financial weakness: my younger sister, Kara. She is 24, beautiful in a way that makes people forgive her too quickly, and she has never once held a job for longer than 5 months. When she married Derek 2 years ago, Derek, who flips houses on paper but hasn't closed a deal in 18 months, I told myself it would get better. They just needed time. They just needed a little help getting started. That's what I told myself every single month when the Venmo request came in. Our mother passed when Kara was 19 and I was 24. Pancreatic cancer, 4 months from diagnosis to the end. In those last weeks, she held my hand and she said, "You're the strong one. You always have been. Just don't let Kara drown." I nodded. I promised. And I have been paying for that promise ever since. Not metaphorically. Literally paying. When Kara and Derek got married, they moved into the apartment above a Thai restaurant in our city, a place I found for them, negotiated the lease for them, and paid the security deposit on because they were just a little short. When Derek's truck needed a new transmission, I covered half. When Kara decided she wanted to launch a hand-poured candle business and needed startup inventory, I wrote a $1,200 check and told myself it was an investment. It was not an investment. I have never seen a single candle, a single sale, or a single dollar returned. I want to be clear about something before I go further. I was not doing all of this from the goodness of my heart alone. I was doing it because every time I even hinted at pulling back, Kara would call me crying. She would say things like, "I just don't know how we're going to eat this week." And I would feel my mother's voice in the back of my skull, "Don't let Kara drown." And I would open my banking app and transfer money, before I even fully understood what I was agreeing to. That is not generosity. That is a trained response. I understand that now. The situation I want to tell you about started 14 months ago, when Derek came to me with what he called a once-in-a-generation opportunity. He had found a foreclosed property in a neighborhood about 40 minutes outside the city. It needed work, a lot of work, he said. But that was the point. Buy it cheap, renovate it, flip it. He had the vision. He had the contacts. What he didn't have was the credit score to get a renovation loan on his own. He needed a cosigner. I asked him to send me the numbers. He sent me a spreadsheet that I now recognize as the financial equivalent of fan fiction: beautiful, internally consistent, and completely disconnected from reality. The purchase price was $187,000. Estimated renovation costs were $60,000. Projected sale price was $310,000. I am a paralegal, not a financial advisor, but even I could see the math was optimistic. I asked him about contingencies. He said they had it covered. I asked him about his contractor. He said his buddy Marcus was licensed and reliable. I asked Kara privately if she believed in this plan. She said, "He's never been more focused in his life. I really think this is it for us." I co-signed the renovation loan. I also, and this is the part that still makes me want to drive into a lake, when I think about it, agreed to loan them an additional $18,000 from my savings to cover the gap between what the bank approved, what they actually needed to get started. I did not write a promissory note. I did not charge interest. I did not set a repayment timeline. My lawyer brain was completely offline where my sister was concerned. Construction started in March. By June, Marcus had abandoned the job halfway through, due to a dispute with Derek that I was never given a straight explanation for. Derek hired a new contractor at a higher rate. The $18,000 I had given them was gone. The renovation budget was already $14,000 over, and Kara was calling me asking if I could front just a little more, while Derek worked on securing a second investor. I said no for the first time. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. Then Kara said, very quietly, "Mom would be so disappointed in you right now." I hung up. I sat in my car in the parking garage of my office building, and I cried for about 10 minutes. Then I blew my nose, went back to my desk, and did not transfer any money. What I did do, because apparently my self-protective instincts were not entirely dead, was start keeping records. Every text, every email, every Venmo transaction going back 3 years. I put it all in a folder on my desktop labeled Home Recipes, because I had seen enough workplace drama to know that nothing is ever actually private. I also did something else, something that felt small at the time. Derek had added me to a group text with him, Kara, and their real estate attorney to keep me in the loop on the loan documents. Out of professional habit, I read every single attachment they sent. Most of it was routine. But in September, buried in a document package the attorney sent at 11 p.m. on a Thursday, I found a clause I recognized from my work. It was a personal guarantee. Buried in the refinancing paperwork Derek had been quietly pursuing with a private lender, the second investor he'd mentioned was language that would have extended my co-signer liability to the new loan as well. Not just the original renovation loan, the new one. A bigger one. Nobody had told me. Nobody had asked me. The package was sent to me as a courtesy copy, and if I had been anyone other than someone who reads legal documents for a living, I would have scrolled past it entirely. I did not sign it. I did not say anything yet. I printed it, put it in a physical folder, and placed that folder in the locked filing cabinet in my apartment. Then I waited, because I have learned from years of watching attorneys work that information is only powerful when you use it at the right moment. The right moment came in October, at Kara and Derek's housewarming party. Yes, housewarming party. For the house that was not finished. For the house that was still technically in renovation. Kara had decided that having people over would manifest the energy of completion, which is the kind of sentence that makes me feel very tired. She had strung lights across the unfinished back deck, and set up a table with wine and a cheese board, and she had invited 12 people, including 3 of Derek's real estate contacts and both sets of their closest friends. She had also invited our Aunt Patricia, our mother's sister, who had been like a second parent to both of us, and who still believed that Kara and Derek were doing wonderfully, and that I was the loving, supportive big sister helping them build their dream. I went. I brought wine. I smiled. I helped Kara arrange the cheese. About an hour in, I was standing near the kitchen with a glass of Sauvignon Blanc when I overheard Derek talking to one of his real estate contacts, a man named Greg who I had met twice before. Derek was describing the property's potential. He said the after-renovation value was going to be, and I'm quoting, $350, easy. Maybe $375 if we finish the addition. The addition. There was now going to be an addition. I set my wineglass down very carefully and went to find Kara. She was on the deck with 2 of her friends, laughing. She looked up when I approached and smiled the way she does when she wants me to see how happy she is, a full, bright, look how well things are going smile. I asked her if I could talk to her privately for a moment. She excused herself and we stepped into the unfinished laundry room off the kitchen. I asked her about the addition. I asked about the new lender. I asked specifically and directly whether she had known that the refinancing paperwork contained language that would have extended my liability to the new loan. She didn't flinch. She said, "Derek said the attorney would explain it to you." I said, "No one explained anything to me. I found it myself." She said, "Well, it would only be a big deal if something went wrong." I looked at my sister, at this person I have loved and protected and quietly funded for 5 years, and I understood something that I think part of me had been trying not to understand for a very long time. She was not naive. She was not simply trusting her husband and assuming things would work out. She knew. She had known. And she had decided that my discomfort was an acceptable cost of their plan. I said, "I need to think about some things." She said, "Don't make this a whole thing. Please. We have guests." I went back inside, finished my wine, said goodbye to Aunt Patricia, and drove home. That night I called my friend Dominique, who is a financial advisor and who has been telling me for 2 years to get a family loan agreement in writing. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long time and then she said, "You know you can remove yourself as cosigner if the primary borrower can secure alternative credit, right? You're not trapped." I said, "I know. I just needed to hear someone else say it." The following Monday I called the bank holding the original renovation loan and asked what my options were for releasing cosigner liability. They told me what I needed. I called a real estate attorney, not Kara and Derek's attorney, my own, and I explained the situation. He reviewed the original loan documents and confirmed that there was a pathway to remove myself as cosigner, contingent on the loan being either refinanced or paid off. If Derek proceeded with his new private lender and refinanced the original loan in the process, I could be removed. In other words, if I let the refinancing go through but made sure my name was not on the new paperwork, I would be free of the original obligation. There was a problem, though. The private lender had already informally reviewed my financial profile as part of the application. My income, my credit score, these had been submitted alongside Derek's numbers to help make the deal look stronger. Removing myself meant Derek would be going to this lender on his own financial merits. Derek's credit score was 591. I did not ask how I knew that. My attorney didn't ask either. We drafted a formal letter withdrawing my consent to be included in any future loan applications related to the property. I sent it to Derek's lender, to the original bank, and CC'd the real estate attorney on record. I sent it on a Tuesday morning at 8:47 a.m. By Thursday afternoon, Derek had called me 4 times. I let them go to voicemail. The messages started professional, "Hey, there seems to be some confusion about the paperwork. Can you call me back?" and ended considerably less professional. I will not repeat the fourth message in its entirety, but it included the phrase "you're sabotaging our family" and a strong suggestion that I had done this out of jealousy. Kara texted me 37 times between Thursday and Saturday. I read every one of them. They ranged from pleading to accusatory to a brief detour into bargaining, and they ended, on Saturday evening, with a message that said, "Mom gave me to you to take care of, not to throw away when it got inconvenient. I will never forgive you for this." I read that message sitting on my couch with my cat in my lap. I read it twice. I thought about my mother, her actual face, her actual voice, the way she smelled like eucalyptus hand cream, and always burned the bottom of her cornbread, and once drove 45 minutes in the rain to bring me soup when I had the flu in my first apartment. I thought about what she actually was, which was a woman who worked night shifts as an ER nurse, and budgeted every dollar, and taught me to read a lease before I signed it, and told me to be strong because she knew, I think, that I would need to be. I do not believe she meant be strong so you can fund your sister's husband's real estate hobby indefinitely. I replied to Kara's message. I said, "I love you, I'm not throwing you away, but I am done signing things." Then I put my phone face down and did not pick it up again until morning. The private lender denied Derek's loan application without my financial profile in the package. He had 90 days to refinance, or the original loan terms would reset at a penalty rate. He could not refinance without a cosigner. He could not find a cosigner. In February, 8 months after construction had started, and 4 months after my Thursday morning letter, Derek and Kara accepted a cash offer on the unfinished property. The sale price was $204,000. The outstanding loan balance, contractor payments, and fees came to $198,500. After everything, they netted approximately $5,500, which did not come close to covering the $18,000 they owed me, and which they did not offer to apply toward it. I know the sale amount because the closing documents were still being routed through the group text that no one had ever removed me from. I'm fairly certain this was an oversight. I screenshot everything anyway. Here's the part of the story I haven't told you yet, because I needed you to understand the full picture first. 3 weeks after the property sold, I was at Aunt Patricia's house for Sunday dinner. This is something we do every few weeks. Patricia cooks, I bring bread, and we watch old movies and talk about the garden. Kara and Derek used to come sometimes, but they hadn't been in months. That evening, Aunt Patricia poured us each a glass of sweet tea, sat down across from me, and said, "Kara called me." I said, "I figured she might." Patricia said, "She told me you pulled out of the loan to get back at her for something, that you've been holding money over her head for years, and you finally decided to blow everything up." I didn't say anything right away. I went to my bag, pulled out a manila envelope I had started carrying about 6 weeks prior when I realized this conversation was eventually going to happen, and I put it on the table. Inside was a printed summary of every financial transfer I had made to Kara and Derek over 3 years. Total, $31,400, including the $18,000 loan. There was also a copy of the unsigned guarantee clause I'd found in the refinancing documents, highlighted, with a sticky note from my attorney confirming what it would have meant for my liability. And there was a screenshot of the text message Kara had sent me on Saturday evening. Patricia read everything slowly. She is 71 years old and she reads the way people used to read before smartphones fully, without skimming. When she finished, she folded everything back into the envelope, set it down, and said, "Your mother would be furious at that girl right now." I said, "I'm not angry anymore, I'm just done." Patricia covered my hand with hers, and we sat like that for a while. Then she got up and reheated dinner, and we ate and talked about her tomato plants, and a documentary she'd been watching about deep-sea fish. It was one of the better evenings I've had in recent memory. Kara has not spoken to me since February. Derek blocked me everywhere, which honestly felt like a gift. My Aunt Patricia texted me last week to say that Kara and Derek have moved into a 2-bedroom rental, and that Kara has a new job at a marketing firm, which genuinely I hope is going well for her. I hope she's okay. I hope Derek figures out how to be the provider he's always told everyone he was. I hope, truly, that they build something real. But I am no longer available to be the foundation they build it on. My $18,000 is gone. I accepted that a long time ago. What I have instead is a savings account I am actually building, a filing cabinet that contains everything I need if this ever becomes a legal matter, and the knowledge that I finally, after 5 years, did the thing my mother actually asked of me. She asked me to be the strong one. I just had to figure out what that actually meant. Last month, Dominique and 2 of my other closest friends threw me what they called a cosigner liberation dinner at my apartment. Dominique made her grandmother's jerk chicken. My friend Rosa brought tres leches cake. We sat on my living room floor with good wine and bad reality TV. And at one point I laughed so hard I knocked over my glass, and no one even cared about the rug. I've been the strong one for a long time. I just forgot, for a while, that strength is allowed to have a boundary. It does now.